My name is Michael. I'm with Wicked Publishing, and today I'm joined by Sean Campbell, the creator of the Ferryman. Welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's good to be here.
You're welcome. I'm excited to talk to you today about your comic, and we'll go over a little bit later. We'll go over your Indiegogo page and take a look at the different tiers that you have offered, since it's still in demand.
All right.
But why don't we start with a little bit of an introduction, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your book?
I am Sean Campbell. I am the creator of the Ferryman. I created this story probably about 3 years ago. Just basically just kind of sitting at work. I think I just started working on the night shift, and I sort of one of the things I was thinking about was sort of how like a third shift job kind of disconnects you from reality a little bit,
Oh, that's interesting.
and uh, and so I guess the character popped into my head, and then this sort of cyberpunk world kind of evolved around it. And but basically, the story is about a man who works the third shift, traveling around the city of Atlanta, downloading the souls of the dead to take them to a virtual afterlife. And so he ends up becoming involved in a murder when he is attacked for unknown reasons, and his knight's collection of downloaded souls, for lack of a better word, are stolen.
Yeah, I really thought the first issue was excellent. You really set up this incredible world, and it really is cyberpunk. You
Oh,
know.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
it's cyberpunk, but it's a kind of like almost a kind of mundane cyberpunk where
Yeah.
it's just like just the real world plus one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just beneath the surface. It's not in your face kind of thing. It's very subtle. But why don't you talk to us a little bit about the idea behind the main premise, which is that when people die, they are uploaded into this place called Glory, and people were trying. It seems to be for the rich and people who are well connected.
Yeah, the idea is, and it's explored a little bit in issue two, where you actually meet the CEO and one of the inventors. The Basically the idea is that it's a service that is sold, like, because it's extremely expensive. You get an implant in the back of your head that basically slowly but surely takes over your brain, takes over the functions of the brain, so that when you die, someone, a recovery agent like Miles, can show up, download you basically your is it a copy of you? Is it you? Is it your soul? Whatever. And who knows? Downloads it and uploads it to the service. And the idea is that the woman who is sort of responsible for this project in the story, she is a real true believer that this is the thing that's going to save the world. Like, this is a kind of a religion for her. She's kind of the founder of her own faith, and so she really, in the story, it's kind of just starting to sort of dip down into sort of affordable range. So it's pretty widespread. They're starting to get widespread, and it's like Apple circa 1994. They're just starting to get to the point where people can afford them, and and so as a consequence, people, the sort of the social impact of this service is not what anyone really expected. Basically, what's happening is, instead of, like she wanted to do, give hope to people, it's basically people see it as a way out. Like, so they will get it and then uh, act a fool. They'll commit suicide. They'll basically throw their lives away, just so they can have access to the service.
Yeah, that's something that I was really struck by. Was in the first issue we're confronted with a situation where someone maybe takes advantage of the technology to get to glory a little bit sooner than they should have,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh my god, that's so sinister. Like, why wouldn't the company have some sort of breach of an agreement with that? And I think even one of the characters kind of brings it up, like, you guys, is it bother you that your technology helps facilitate this kind of stuff?
Yeah,
And I
and
just thought that was so interesting.
yeah, and then the first page, or not the first page, but the second page, the guy just asks, "Well, can you just take me there now?" And
Right.
she says, "No, that would technically be murder."
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. It's like it's this interesting legality. Like, how do you get around that?
Mm.
So yeah, I definitely think that the world you set up as very unique, and it lends for some really interesting mysteries that you've kind of layered into the first issue.
Yeah, and the story sort of evolves from there because basically what's happening in the story is that the people that are that there's a sort of underground society of people that are basically somehow found a way to escape glory back into the real world, and there's sort of the question of sort of how they're doing it, why they're doing it, what are they doing, what's their plan, is there a plan, who's leading them, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be something that they've never really, or at least they weren't noticing before, the people who were working at this organization. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
see. I guess the story comes
yeah,
that's the mystery. I guess, right?
yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is
Exactly. Yeah.
this is not something that was planned.
Mm.
Basically, the story is there is an AI that's sort of developing within sort of the bowels of glory that wants itself
Hmm.
wants to get out.
Yikes! It doesn't sound good.
No, no, not for the living. No, he doesn't like he doesn't like humans that much.
Well, that begs an interesting question about the people who are coming back from glory, if they're even themselves or not, and whether or
Well,
not they were, you know.
yeah, it's kind of buyer's remorse taken to the extreme. Like you get there and you realize, oh, this isn't quite what it's cracked up to be.
and and that's where the character of that we see on the cover of the second issue, right? What's his
Uh,
name again?
you mean the big guy with the
The
guns?
big guy, yeah.
Yeah,
The rebel. He's sort
yeah,
of a
that is.
rebel, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a. Well, let me share my screen here. I can pull up some pictures of him. Can I do this
Awesome,
with
yeah.
this? I don't
You
want to
should be able
boomer
to at the
this.
bottom of your screen if you go to share screen, but you'll need to
Let's
open
see.
it in its own special, like a separate window.
Or it'll just cause that weird tunnel
On a
effect.
side note, I wanted to just real quickly mention something I really love and about what you've done is every so often you'll come across an ad, and I love that you've interworked some really interesting nods to other stuff. Like we have here a Regina advertisement for a robotic body, which is so fun. Or there's another nod to the
Mm-hmm.
Tim Lim's book as well.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. That one is the most adorable thing. Well, I'll show that in a
I
second
know,
if you
I
like.
love that.
But
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I love that thing. That was great.
yeah,
You have a wicked sense of
yeah,
humor layered throughout this book.
yeah. That's one thing. We haven't quite gotten to a stretch goal where we can do any ads like that. We are doing an article that'll be in the back of the book. We're doing plans for that right now.
I like
But
that stuff. It's
that
world building, you know.
yeah, I know. I love it too. That's actually Tim Lim's idea. I was asking him
Nice.
because I just met him and we had just sort of hit our goal, and I was asking him like, what do we do for stretch goals? And he said, well, I like how you. He says you read my stuff. I like having like little fake ads and things like that and little Easter eggs. And I was like, okay, you got to do one.
And not only that, but
And
you're working with some of the best artists too.
oh yeah. Oh, speaking of which, let me show you. This is actually if you back at the second the two poster tier up, you get the version of the Troy Torres ad, which is this thing right here. For those who
The
don't know,
life you always wanted is waiting for you.
which is the bleakest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is so depressing. I was like, Troy, you nailed exactly what I was going for because it looks so
Oh my
inspirational, but it's
god.
just so bleak.
I know, I love it. And you have a version of
But
that in the first issue, and when I came across it, I instantly recognized it as Troy's work, and I said, "Oh my god, that is so epic." I love that. It was
yeah,
just so much fun to
yeah,
see that.
Troy is great. And
Yeah,
I just told him, I
seriously,
said,
yeah.
we were talking about let's do something sort of like 1950s propaganda ish, and he was like, got it. But let's go.
Oh, that's
Let's see
hilarious.
here. The cover, I believe you're talking about this dude right here.
That's right. Hmm.
Uh, that is Ammar Ahmadi. He is a Syrian warlord
Mm,
who his backstory. We learned about him in there's a lot in sort of some of the lore stuff in the first book. He was
exactly. Yeah.
a as a young boy he came to the UK through the Syrian refugee crisis. He was a Syrian Christian refugee and ended up getting recruited by MI5 and sent and basically implanted all kinds of cybernetic parts, and was sent into Syria during a war that happened before, and basically was sent to basically get like a superhero in a way. He was sent to sort of rally the troops and fight a a an aspect of the story that hasn't really been explored called the Hub, which this girl is a part of. And his story is that when he was fighting it, he found her, who is his sister. And when he found her, he basically switched sides and started fighting to protect it rather than destroy it. And that's sort of where he's basically fighting technology basically through the use of technology, which is part of his sort of the political nature of his character. And he sort of sees uh, the guidance from the hub, which is basically sort of like a collective consciousness of people that have sort of been wired together. It was sort of it basically like sort of like a Siri or Alexa, but with people. And he sort of, but they have this sort of predictive ability where they can sort of, they have humans connected to a machine. They have incredible sort of algorithmic perception, and they can essentially sometimes see the future. And he sort of sees it as kind of divine guidance. And so he's sort of being, in a way, he's kind of being manipulated by it to some extent.
Interesting. Is that related to the bit with his sister then in issue 1? With how she's connected to those machines?
Yeah, she's since she was connected to it, she's basically dependent on it to survive. And
okay.
he and his soldiers basically fight because there aren't many of them left because they're made illegal after the war. Yeah, he's kind of protecting her, but in turn also basically protecting the thing that he hates.
Wow, yeah. And that backstory, I thought that backstory was really interesting because you laid it out like an article, and it was written by one of the characters that's featured in the front as a character profile, and that's Tara Mitnick. Are we going to see more of her character in future issues?
Oh yeah. She plays a major role. Basically, the plot of the second book is basically moving those three into the vicinity of Miles, trying to get those stories to combine, and that happens. Those two stories will be united in issue 3, but the story of issue 2 is her bodyguard and Mr. and his sister trying to escape Syria to get back to the Western world where they're safe. And so and there's some really cool because Dennis Turner, our artist, did a really cool scene at the docks with a bunch of smugglers, and he did some really creepy stuff. There's some cool stuff. I don't want to. I'm not going to spoil anything, but you've probably seen the pictures if you've watched. But yeah.
But so how did you first start working with your artist?
We found each other through Facebook. Actually, there was some.
Really?
There was a group I just kind of happened to stumble on that was connecting. Because I think it was called Connecting Comic Book Writers and Artists, and I just put out a call and said I'm looking to do some stuff, send me some stuff and some rates. And he was the best that I could find, and we decided to work together. He really loved the story. His art was really good, and it just kind of went from there. And we've been working. I guess we've worked together now for like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And then how did you start working with Esther then?
She came recommended from someone because, okay, this ties into sort of indie comics backstory. Is not everyone knows how to make a comic, and so basically, I was thinking about hiring a colorist, and I was like, I don't even know how do you hire a colorist? What do you do? And basically, it never occurred to me you could just ask. and so I was at a convention. And I was asking a guy about that, and he said basically, yeah, you just send an email to someone and ask. And I just happened to find Esther, and she was, and she had done some stuff I think with IDW. She'd done stuff with Disney.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
and she's a colorist. I think she's from Spain, and she just got what I was doing, and it just looked great. Like there was things that I didn't even think about doing, like the way she does the color scheme. Like everything is, and the book has a lot of blue in it, as you can tell. But so the scenes in Syria have a sort of a brown tint, and that's one thing I noticed, especially in and the way she colored the glory scenes, she made them very sort of. She like took the tone down. It looks really sort of weird and bleak, and the sky is like this weird shade of sort of grayish blue. But
Right,
one thing I
I love
noticed,
it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, she like the way she does things is she has like a color scheme for each page. I kind of noticed that like every scene has its own sort of distinct color. Like there's like a scene at a bar, purple. Like this, the scene that there's the fight scene in the book that has a very strong reddish tone to it. So she really knows her stuff and she knows what she's doing. And I'm just,
Oh yeah.
well, I'm so lucky I found you.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pages now, and I'm totally seeing exactly that. There's this beautiful color composition that's very strong throughout it, and you can totally see the browns, the transitions from the blue, and no, I totally get that. That's a really talented colorist that's able to do that.
I see
Yeah,
Ebi is in the chat here,
I was just about to
and
point that out too. Actually,
yeah,
he said your
Ebi.
boy Sean Campbell.
Hello to Dan as well. But man, Ebi is one of my favorite artists in the whole wide world, and he did
Right,
some. He did some of the. I don't want to blow smoke up your butt there, Ebi, but he did some. He did the art, the little art panels in the article part of this part of the
exactly.
end,
Yeah, I
and
love that.
yeah, he did such. He just wow. And that the third one is my favorite panel in the whole book. The one at the bottom. Uh,
Mm. Where they're all connected up under the machine there.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
that is like my favorite. Is like whenever I think about the book, I that comes to mind, and I'm trying to load it up so I can screen share it, but I don't know if it's gonna work
It's
or
just they
not.
complemented the article perfectly, I thought. Like it
It
says,
did,
it
yeah.
even has captions like it says here above: the Battle of Damascus, Amar's forces clash with the Alliance enhanced soldiers, and
Let's
just
see if
that
I
kind of
load
stuff.
this PDF.
Like it was that kind of stuff, the ads, the articles, these little things, those details that I think really make your book stand out from a lot of the other books I've seen in terms of the world building, because
Mm-hmm.
it's only one issue, but I feel like I already know so much about this world, which I think is so cool. I think people could really
Yeah, it's
connect
great.
with
That's it.
the different stuff that you have here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I was going a little bit of a Hickman style, but not quite so extreme. But yeah, Ebi, thank you so much for what you did for this book. I am so proud of it.
So why don't we take a look at the second issue's Indiegogo page for a little bit? I'll go ahead and pull that
Okay.
up on the screen share,
That
and we'll
sounds
take a look at what you got going on.
okay.
So when did the comic first go in demand?
It went in demand in July.
July.
Uh, we
Okay.
we are. I'll go ahead and address it. We are a little bit behind. We had some issues with getting the finance from Indiegogo, and also now
Okay.
we have stretch goals. I want to hit. We're going to close the campaign probably in the next couple of weeks, just so we can finally get because it's stretching my patience. So I can imagine it's stretching everyone else's as well. But
But hey, it gives people who missed it a chance to still back it, which is good.
absolutely, yeah. That's we want to get some backers. We want to get these stretch goals if we can. We'll talk about
Definitely,
that in
yeah.
a minute. But yeah,
Nice.
that's our campaign. We have 6,000. What is it? 630.
6639, which is awesome.
Yeah.
259 backers. That's a great amount of backers.
Yeah.
So
Very
we'll
proud of
scroll
that.
down here. So we first offering is a PDF of issue number 2.
Mm-hmm.
$4 you get the second issue digital,
Yep. And we also offering the first issue for those who missed it. We
which is
have had a
nice.
lot. We have had a lot of new backers, which is great. Like people coming in not from the old campaign, but just fresh off the boat.
Really?
Um,
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, the that one and the 1 and 2 physical copies are very popular.
Yeah, I think it's cool that I always like when campaigns give you an option to get the first or two, first couple issues that you missed, maybe because maybe you didn't hear about it, or maybe you weren't sold the first time, or maybe you just didn't have the money. But there's so many reasons why you didn't get to it the first time. So having that option, I think, is really helpful for people.
I agree. It's very important. Also, it's also gives you a leg up on a lot of on the big ones because a lot of times if you go to the comic book store, you might have issues 3, 4, and 7, you can't get the others, and
Right.
you have to either order them, wait for the trade, or get them digitally or whatever.
Exactly, and that's always a pain.
Mhm.
So yeah, that just makes it easy and nice and easy for people to be able to catch up with the story.
Mhm.
So then we go down and we got a $10 tier, which gives you a physical copy of issue number 2.
Mhm.
You get Ferryman, just the meat and the potatoes.
Yep. And the second book there, you get $18. You get 2 books.
Nice.
Which by the way, the first book is 22 pages. The second one is 28 story pages.
Oh wow, getting a little bit meatier there.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
That was one of the issues I had working on the first book was I was like this. I had to cut pages out because I just couldn't afford to make them.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
too bad. Yeah.
yeah. There was an action scene that actually got cut because I was like, I've got to lose 4 pages because I can't afford this.
It's like a deleted scene almost.
Yeah, basically.
It would be funny to see like a bonus thing where like a storyboarded version of it, and like a feature issue. Like, so this is a scene that almost made it in, but not quite.
Yeah, just take like the script and just put it in
Exactly. Yeah.
panels.
Yeah. That's right. Oh man. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. That's good to hear that the next issue is even bigger than the first one because I felt the first one was already had a lot packed into it.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
it was.
A lot of people said it was a very quick read. I'm not.
Huh.
I was like, all right, well, we'll do a little more.
You know what? I would say I don't know if this is what they were going for when they say quick read, but for when I read it, it felt more brisk and it felt like that because I think I was just enjoying it so much. It was like I was like every page of the turn I was like more interested in the story than before, and so to me maybe that's what they meant because it is quite a page turner.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think people have a lot to look forward in this next issue.
Sweet.
So we have this next. Oops.
Oh,
Sorry. Give me 1 second here. So we
well,
have the
if
number
you want
one.
to back the book, go ahead.
Oh, I have. I got a number 2 myself. I had to grab a number 2, of course.
Nice.
See
Oh
where the
God.
story
Oh
goes.
no.
Well, because I love that plot twist you have at the end. I won't spoil the ending for the first one for the people who haven't read it, but there's a beautiful plot twist that you have that's layered in with something that comes earlier in the issue, and such a nice payoff. It was like, oh yes, that is so perfect. Now I gotta read the next one. Yeah. So that was for me. I thought you just nailed it with that ending.
Cool.
Now, what is the next one we have here?
Next one is number 2 and a poster. You will get a poster.
Oh,
Issue number 2 and the poster of the cover.
now, what's the poster like?
The poster is the cover. It'll be this without the trade dress.
With all just the art by itself.
Yeah.
Cool, nice.
And the second poster, the one below, the
One and
one
two.
2 and 2 posters, that the
Mhm.
second poster you'll be getting will be the Troy's Glory ad, the clean version that I showed you before.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice, man. Now, what is this retailer pack? Is this something aimed at comic shops?
that's something. Yeah, it's something I think campaign should do. We haven't gotten any response on it, but it's something that's there for people that want it. You just get a 10-pack that you could sell, and you could either have for yourself or sell in stores for a basic price of basically $5 a piece.
Nice. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You might even reach out to some comic shops, and because I think that's a pretty interesting idea there.
That's something I need to do. I need to go to my local
Yeah,
comic shop and
exactly. Yeah.
buy stuff.
Local comic shops are usually pretty supportive of local artists and talent and creators like that. So yeah, you might have some good luck doing that.
Maybe I don't think I even mentioned that I'm doing a comic there.
Oh, that's so funny. Now the next tier up, we have something a bit more special. What do we have
Yep.
here?
Original art. We are offering the original art pages. We've sold, I think, about 17 of them.
Wow.
And yeah, and basically you just get one of Dennis's black and white art pages from the book. I've got them right here. They made the trip safely from the Philippines.
Wow, jeez, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
that was the scariest part of the whole thing.
I
Was
bet.
he shipped them, and I was like, I know how international shipping works. I know this might not work out properly, but
And
it
you
did.
shipped it all in one package, huh?
He shipped them all in one package.
Oh, that is scary.
Yeah, that was actually it was actually his idea to do that because he just wrote me one day and said, "Hey, do you want these?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Wow,
yes, I do."
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So those are some pretty special pages there.
Yep, and like I said, we have about 10 or 11 more that are there, and also the cover, which I might keep the cover.
Now, have you done that? Did you do that similarly with issue number 1 as well?
No, I didn't. Basically, the way the first issue happened was I did it. I was just kind of in a creative rut, and I was like, I want to do something. So I and like I'm the only way I'm going to be able to do this if I pay for it myself. So I paid for the pages, basically trying to just sort of pitch it to the comic companies, and never
Mm.
got any bites on it. So I sat on it for a while, and so by the time people started looking at indie comics kind of seriously, it had been like a year since we did this. So
Wow.
it was so basically I actually hadn't spoken to Dennis in a while, and I didn't, and it never even occurred to me that he would want to sell the pages. I don't think I even knew he was doing it. I was thinking he was doing it digitally, but turns out he does all his stuff on paper, which is great.
Wow. Well, that is interesting. So, any chance you might sell those other pages out then at some point?
You mean like the first issue?
Yeah, yeah, for the first issue.
Yeah, if I get them, I'm going to talk to him about that, about getting those whenever we do the third issue.
Nice.
Maybe I can get those as part of the deal if he still has them.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So we're seeing here some new page previews for the new issue,
Mm-hmm.
and man, it is looking good.
Yeah.
So,
I,
where does this pick up in relation to the first issue?
The first issue, basically, like if you look at the first three panels, are a flashback to one of the reasons why Miles is kind of the character that he is he lost his brother and his niece in an accident,
Mm.
and that's
Oh,
a
wow.
little flashback, and then he wakes up in the hospital after another car crash happens at the end of the first book, and
Hmm.
you see he's the lady in red there is
Which is interesting. She's
yeah.
astral looking. Yeah, I thought that was a really another good twist at the end. It actually took me a second look through the book to actually connect her to the earlier part of the book,
Mhm.
and I said, "Oh my God, that's the woman. Who is she? Why is he seeing her?"
That's part of the
Uh,
question because basically what we can spoil a little bit. Basically, one in the at the end of the first book, one of the little hard drives where they download people into is destroyed right before he ends up getting attacked, and presumably this is the ghost of a woman who was in the thing. So is he seeing ghosts? Is it in his
hmm.
head? Is it guilt? Is she some kind of digital spirit? Who knows? Read on.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good mystery. There's a lot of layered mysteries that you put in here. Did you spend a lot of time developing the story ahead of time before you started working on it?
I probably was thinking about it for probably a few months
Really?
before it started to really start to take shape. Uh, it was originally I was thinking about it as because my writing background is I write screenplays.
Oh, really?
That's sort of how I learned how to write was writing through
Oh,
screenplays.
wow. That makes a lot of
And
sense.
so I was actually thinking about it as a horror movie, and then it sort of started to evolve into kind of into a mystery. Then it evolved into a cyberpunk story and all this cool stuff.
So, do you feel that screenplay writing still influences your current comic writing as well? Then?
Uh, well, I'm not really sure. The one thing I could think of that maybe people who come from screenwriting versus coming from like prose, the one thing you think about more than prose writers, I think, is like structure and pacing.
Hmm.
So maybe some of that I'm not really sure. That's up for the reader to decide. But I sort of I spend a lot of time thinking about sort of feeling your way through the story and sort of how it sort of plays out in your head.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there because I think the pacing. Yeah, you're right. There's something about the pacing that it really does gives us the sense of someone who maybe comes from the screenplay writing. That's why when you said that, it totally made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a good sense of story. in the first issue. And so screenplay writing. How did you get involved in that?
All right, take care, Eli. He's taking off.
Oh, okay. See you. Bye.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us, man.
yeah. I went to an art center when I was in high school. One of those things where it's like you go there for half the day and you go to high school for half the day. And I studied film and video.
Really?
And screenwriting I'm not really the best organizer in the world, so that getting people to like get together to shoot things was never really my forte. Wasn't something that came naturally to me. So the thing I could do on my own, the thing I could control on my own was writing. So that's what I focused on most of the time when I was there. And uh, so I wrote my first screenplay when I was 16, I think. It was terrible. It was about vampires.
Oh, that's hilarious. What was the name of it?
Oh, it was called Miser's Dream.
Nice.
Which is Miser's Dream is the magic trick that people do, where it's like where they make coins disappear.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
yeah, it played a part in the story. It didn't
Nice.
make a damn lick of sense.
Hey,
But
you gotta start somewhere, right?
but I finished it and I got an A on it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh man. Well, so what made you choose Syria as a location for part of the comic?
Part of it was I was just thinking about like what parts of the world are going to be kind of war torn and not in a good position 30 years from now, because the story's set in 2051, and
Yeah,
obviously Syria came to mind.
that's a good. I mean, it's such an interesting location to set. There's a lot of interesting dynamics you can, like you said, you can set with that being in the future, and how has it developed since where we're at now, and what issues have come about since then, and you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah,
One thing I was thinking about was like thinking about like over the course of time, how might people try to rebuild it, might try to make it like a hub for technology in in the European area maybe, and then maybe have it fall apart again because some things tend to happen in cycles like that.
hmm,
So it sort of had a rise and fall in the story, where it was at one point sort of like the Middle East sort of technology hub, and then it kind of fell apart.
after the what you call the in the book the Hub Wars. Is that is that how it's pronounced or?
Yeah, it was basically the plot of it. The hub war is essentially when uh, this collective consciousness of sort of people that were sort of plugged into the world, plugged into sort of this hive mind, essentially tried to influence humanity to basically to try to guide it in a direction. And of course, anytime you try to use algorithms to predict people's behavior, it tends to not work. They tend to it tends to backfire. So that's what happens, and basically it starts World War III.
Wow. Yeah, and you've really done a good job of seeding that into the history of the characters and the world. And I think that kind of shows you've done you've done a lot of work into building this world up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I really like doing is when you're writing is building out the world, but also sort of leaving space for yourself to sort of to keep the still where it's still interesting in your head, kind of thing. So you can sort of it's really exciting to get to dive back in and be like, wait, how far can I bend this and make it interesting? Make
Hmm.
it still interesting to me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the original pages, right? That's when I
That
cut
looks so
from.
good. The, the
Yeah.
the the line art is just gorgeous, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's my
And look at
dad's
that
crotch
black
in the shot
inking.
there.
Forgot. Look at that inking. What's that?
I said that's my dad's crotch.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man. But yeah, those
Yeah,
pages look just so nice. Yeah.
yeah. For $90 you get that, 2 posters, and 2 books.
And here we have the creative team all laid
Mm-hmm.
out. Nice. Yeah, your campaign's looking really nice. And that's still in demand for how long again?
Well, a couple of weeks. We'll probably take it out probably early October
Okay, yeah.
because I don't want, like I said, I don't want to push it too far because I want to get the book out, and I imagine people who backed it want their book.
So if you please, if you haven't picked it up already, go check it out. Here's the link at the bottom. We're gonna keep talking more about the book, but I just want to make sure people get that out there and or have a chance to pick up the book if they haven't, because it is definitely awesome stuff here. So, what is your plans for the future of the series for number 2 and beyond down the line?
Number two, like I said, it'll be out before probably you'll probably be getting your copies in November if you backed it, November-ish, and we want to get an early start and have maybe do another campaign for book 3 in February.
Nice.
I'd like to do the whole series in 2020. I'd like to get that
Wow.
out the door if at
That'd be
all possible.
awesome.
But I also have some other storylines, other ideas I want to deal with. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how, if it's possible to do other stories, maybe in between, maybe alongside in some way. However, that's possible. I got to find the right creative team. Got to find a good collaborator.
Now, when you say
For
other stories, do you mean completely separate from Ferryman or something within the universe of Ferryman?
something, I want to do something different. I want to do a
Really?
superhero
Oh
story.
wow. Oh wow.
Uh,
Really? Ha ha ha
yeah,
ha.
the Ferryman, it will be 5 issues, possibly 6 if we do a one shot.
Okay.
Uh, and the other storyline I want to do, I have a
Nice and
couple of
cool
ideas I
story.
want to try on, but the storyline I want to do is a story called Godhood. It'll be a trilogy of probably longer books, maybe like 40 pages kind of thing.
Okay.
So it'll be like 3 of them.
Wow. And you could compile that into a trade paperback of 120 pages at that point.
That'll be great. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
If people want to make that happen, that's something we're going to be looking at in the future. Hopefully, trying to figure out find a good collaborator and figure out if it's sort of financially feasible. Like one book,
Hmm.
financially speaking, one book is a little bit of a stretch, but 2 would be kind of crazy,
Hmm.
and it would be a bigger, more ambitious project.
Interesting.
So Ferriman takes is priority number 1, but if we can do like maybe stagger, do like do Ferriman 3, then do Godhood 1, 4, and then Godhood 2, and then 3, something like that. That would be fantastic, and just sort of keep the ball rolling.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So people have to look forward to around maybe February for possible updates about a third issue campaign coming out.
Yep, that's the plan.
Mm. Nice. That's exciting, man. Nice. Well, that's awesome, man. So, where did you come up with the idea for the main character? What was kind of going into his inspiration?
His Miles Armstrong, his inspiration was, aside from sort of my own personal experience to some extent, he is basically Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver before the murderous rampage. Just this
Okay.
the idea of just this sort of lonely character that sort of
Hmm.
sleepwalks through life. Has maybe some trauma in the past because
Mm-hmm.
with him it's sort of he had a problem with addiction. He had a problem with his brother and his niece uh, died. It was and he feels like it's kind of his fault.
Mm.
With Travis, it was he fought in a war, that kind of thing, and just having that sort of the lonely character that sort of sees the city at night and sort of lives in this sort of seedy underbelly of sort of death and
Hmm.
chaos of society, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really cool character. I could totally see where your influence came from that with Taxi Driver, and it actually reminds me of a point in the first issue. He's having he's talking with, I believe it looks like, his brother and his niece,
Mm-hmm.
and he gives her this awesome virtual reality toy or some sort of toy. It looks like it's some sort of crazy augmented reality toy or something, and they're
Yeah,
just
the
having a good
battle
time
buddy.
talking. Yeah, the battle buddy, which I think was so fun. But they're having this great conversation. It's a beautiful day, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I wish I could give you a hug, but I know you can't feel it, and he phases out, and it's like, oh nope, he's just in a virtual reality, and he's stuck in the office.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just thought that was such a great nail on the head of that whole thing of his isolation and just how alone he feels, and he's just surrounding himself with death and nothing else really
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah, that was
date
sort of
dusk to dawn.
yeah, one thing about sort of a little bit of the lore is that people that work, it's sort of the way technology companies do things now is if you work there for a certain period of time, you're eligible for discounts on things. So if you work for ELH, which is the company that does the Glory project, if you work for them for 5 years, you get the Glory implant for free. So part of the thing I was thinking about was if he's working there for 5 years, after 5 years of a life like that, would he be one of those people that would check himself out, right as soon as he got it? Maybe. That's kind of bleak.
Yeah, seriously, that's a good point. I hadn't really considered that.
Mm.
And he's very determined to get it. In the book, they're like, you could just quit, and he's like, not before I get that implant.
Yeah.
He really wants it, and we don't really know why yet.
Well, part of it is, glory comes across. If you think about this idea of a virtual afterlife, there's an element of hope there. But
Exactly,
then,
especially for someone who's living such a dreary life.
yeah, and if you, depending on how you feel about issues of the afterlife or whatever,
Right.
that can be a terrifying concept, or it can be a very liberating one. But
Mm.
at the same time, glory would be is for him especially, it's kind of a panacea. Like, if I'm using that word, if
What
I'm
is the
using
word
that word
again? I've
correctly,
heard it before, but I've forgotten the meaning.
I don't
It's like
know. I
let me
might have
look it
used
up.
it wrong.
No, I think you're onto something. It's like let's see here. It's a solution or remedy for all difficulties or diseases. Cure all
Yeah, that's the
difficulties.
one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the word
yeah,
I was thinking of.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
smarter than I
Okay.
thought.
That's funny. But no, I
Yeah,
get
but
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not really the solution to your problems that you think it
No,
is.
not really.
Because if you're a depressed, bleak person in a depressed, bleak world, you're that's not going to change in no matter where you go. So that's part of the reason, the thought process of people that go to glory and then might try to escape.
Hmm.
Oh, Tank's in the
Yeah.
chat.
Hey, Tank, how's it going? What's up? Thanks for joining us today to talk a little bit about the ferryman.
Yeah.
Now I see on your icon there, we see the main character, his name is Miles, and he's standing next to the odd woman there again.
Yeah.
So is
Let
she
me
gonna play a bigger role as well as the story goes on?
Yeah, first let me share my screen real quick. I'll show that picture in its full glory. No,
What is that
no
from
pun
there?
intended.
That
That is
was a good one.
that is our extra. Will be a new variant for issue one.
A new variant cover for issue
Uh,
one. Okay,
if
really?
we Yeah, it'll, for the first one, the first printing will be replaced with this very awesome piece that Dennis and Esther put together.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We here see some of the characters of the world.
Yep. That's on the far left there. That is Miles's brother Travis and his niece Ruby. That is Detective Carver there, who is the guy who is investigating all these uh,
Ah,
nasty murders. And
mm-hmm.
you have the lady in red. Don't hear that song in your head; it'll be stuck with you all day when I say that. Um,
And
just call her
then
Dorothy.
we have
Dorothy's my
the
name.
and then the man on the right is also in issue one as well.
Yeah, that is the
Um,
man in the first page that commits suicide.
and so something I thought that was interesting on the police officer, he says, "We got to stop running into each other like this." I
Hmm.
got that was a great line. He has this
Yeah, he.
interesting relationship with the police.
Yeah, the
Him and his
police.
organization.
Yeah, the police kind of. What's sweaty, Tank?
I
Oh,
was thinking it's like, who knows? Maybe it's. He wishes he
anyway.
could be in glory. He wishes he could be in glory right now. I bet.
Yeah, but the detective plays a bigger role in the second issue. He's actually in the preview. His part is in the preview that is available. You can click on the link on the page and take a look at it. The he the relationship between the police and guys like the recovery agents is a very interesting one, because if anyone would see sort of the effect that glory would have on society, it would be the police who have to clean up the mess, and so they deal with this stuff all the time. And so and Detective Carver he's a man of faith in his own way, so he doesn't like what he has to deal with, and so he just sort of it's just finally got to the point where he's had enough, and he's seen enough, and he knows more about what's going on than anyone else. Like in issue two, there's a part where he talks about all these people that attacked him. Miles does to the detective, and he's basically the detective kind of hints that he's not the first person that he's had to deal with who has uh, seen ghosts. Let's say.
Hmm. So there maybe there's some malfunction or something going wrong with the tech here.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
interesting. Yeah,
he doesn't know. The police are just they're dealing with something very new.
and something that they don't really understand.
Yep.
Now you said or you also had the battle buddy out there. Do we have the image of the battle buddy we can share?
Let me see if I can
I,
find it
I
in
hate to impose on
here.
you, but I do love me some battle buddy.
It's in the PDF. The PDF is running really slow. I'm running this
No worries.
computer.
If you find it, just let me know. We'll pop it up.
Yeah, this the computer here that I'm using is kind of a potato. Oh, right here. Perfect.
And
Let
that
me
was
see.
also yeah, it was in the image we saw for the variant cover. Battle Buddy's also on the variant cover.
Yep, that
Your
is
favorite
Tigran's
toy
piece.
coming to a store near you.
Yep.
Now we get a glimpse of Glory in the first issue, just a glimpse, and it's this very
Yeah,
strange landscape.
the picture's up now if you want to take a look.
Oh, it is. Oh, good, good, good. Let's see here. So this is the ad, and we see the Easter egg in the bottom right as well. But I just love it. It's like
Yeah.
super cute, super deadly, super rad. It's so
Yeah,
adorable and
it's just
so scary.
it's just a teddy bear that will fight you when you want it to. It was the stupidest, dumbest, coolest idea. I was like, what would people make in because Glory is kind of user created, so people just kind of make stuff, and so you could have like a teddy bear that turns into a crazed bazooka wielding maniac that will fight you if you want it to.
I thought that was so funny. Yeah, it's like the daughter had this virtual sword to fight
Yeah,
the bear with. It's like pew
yeah.
pew. So great. Like I can imagine, like if kids had that, they would just go nuts with that.
I know I
So
would.
right. So I just love that little extra touch there. That was fun. Now now you say the second issue is 28 pages. The first one is 22 pages. Is so how many bonus pages are we getting? You mentioned you guys are kind of trying to work on an article at the moment.
Yeah, right now it'll be just the article. We have a pin-up that'll be on the back cover
Okay.
as well. That's
Nice.
we have sort of an idea for that. Nothing concrete, but the we got Peter Gilmore is working on some of the art pages for the new magazine article. This one will be about the CEO of the company that runs it
Hmm.
for it, who you meet in
Really.
the preview. Yeah.
In the preview pages on the Indiegogo page.
Is she in the preview? I don't know if she's in the preview or not. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it stops before we get to her. Actually, sorry about that. But
No,
yeah,
don't worry.
it's a woman named Gretchen Harper, who is who is the CEO. She's sort of the one
Oh,
who.
wait a second. I think there might be a page here. Let me screen share it real quick. This actually looks like she has the air of someone who is very rich. Let me see here. Where did the Ferryman go? Sorry, one second.
Did you not pay the ferryman?
I don't think I did. I didn't pay the toll. That's the issue here. There it is. Now I paid, and we can see it now. So is that her in the bottom left, staring at him in the bed?
No, that's Lady in Red. That's from page one.
Oh, that's the same woman, huh? Yeah, it's I
Yeah.
think it's because it's not colored. I didn't couldn't get the aura feel for it.
Let me see if
So she's
I
stalking him, huh? Great.
can.
That's just when he needs a stalker.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody need a stalker in their life?
Well, usually it helps when other people can see your stalker. It's a little scary when you're the only one who can see your stalker. That's another level, I think. But no, it's interesting, man. I really like I said, I really enjoyed the read. The art is so good. The line work and the colors complement each other so perfectly,
Well,
and
thank
you have a
you.
really good sense of time. And I wonder if that comes from your screenwriting again. But it's like something that I always think about in my writing. I struggle with the passage of time. It's almost like everything is just happening all at once. But it's like you have such a good sense of like something's happening here, and then now we're at a new scene, and then some more time has passed. And now we're over here, and even between panels sometimes we'll get really movement in time. So I think you have a good sense of movement with the story. It keeps
Well, thanks.
moving
I try.
forward.
That's one of the major hurdles we had in this issue as well, was because in the story, Miles is in the hospital and he wakes up a few days after being in an accident. But the Syrian story is happening sort of concurrently. Like, it happens basically, picks up right where it left off. So we had this issue of having two storylines, one happening about a month after another one. So and telling them where they're going at the same speed. So that was sort of an issue that we had to sort of deal with, and basically we just did it with like a locator, like a caption, where they say like, oh, this is 2 weeks ago, this is present day, kind of thing, and sort of have them sort of slowly meet. But that was an interesting challenge.
I bet. That's cool. It's interesting to hear how you overcame that. Now we're at the very end. Well, actually, towards the end of the first issue, we're introduced to a new villain. Are we going to see some more about what he's all about next issue? The man with the silver face and the sniper rifle, the Invisicloak guy.
Yeah, Ty is he is one of the cyborgs, the people that have been brought back from glory.
Oh wow!
And one of the things about them is, since they are brought back basically in bodies of dead people, so they don't really care so much about themselves. So they basically turn themselves into living weapons to serve the will of their master in glory, who will be named in this book. His name is Philip.
His name is Philip?
Yeah, Philip. Not Philip.
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 Oh, okay, Philip. Okay, yeah, I was like Philip. Oh, that's interesting.
Phil the Conqueror.
Right. Yeah, that'd be an interesting choice, huh?
Yeah.
But okay, that's cool, man. Yeah, and I really love that character. He's only in it for just briefly, but he makes his presence known very quickly. It's like
he makes a comeback in issue.
nice. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because he was a cool character. I really picked up on him immediately.
Sweet.
Nice, man. So yeah, what can you tell us about the future of the stories and where we'll see some of these characters going?
Well, okay, issue 2 is, I don't want to spoil anything for issue 2, but issue 3, their stories will converge. But the investigation will sort of really kick off, because there's a sort of the final page of issue 2 it's so gross. It's right. A disgusting image. I don't know if you probably, I guess you haven't seen it, but
no, I haven't seen it, but I can imagine.
And I'm not
just based on the art. Like his art is so gruesome already. Like that head scene. I won't say any more than that, but the head scene that was very powerful stuff right there.
Yeah, well, we're gonna revisit that idea in issue 2.
Nice. That's such a oh my god. You're a twisted madman for that one, man. That is such a I never saw that one coming, and it's like, but it made so much sense. Like when it happened, I was like, oh my god, no, of course. It's like, oh, that's so great. It's the pieces just fit so well that it almost seems like you had to have planned it all ahead of time, which I don't know if you did or not, but it feels like everything is just locking into place as you read it.
Yeah, well, they revisit that scene to some extent, quite literally in issue 2. So we go from there, and then there'll be and sort of that's sort of when the Filth's agents in the world kind of really start to sort of awaken and start causing chaos. And so the future of basically the world of the living and the world of the dead are both kind of hanging in the balance of this sort of underground war that's been going on right under everyone's noses.
Wow, that's incredible. It's just this. It gives me shivers to think about it. But it's like this. This world that you created is so interesting and dense and diverse. It's like you said, it's almost like a mixture of modern day with a cyberpunk style. It's almost like it's a new genre, cyberpunk light, or like you have low fantasy. It's like low cyberpunk. It's almost it's almost this new creation here. And I'm just staring at the back page of issue 1 here with that beautifully creepy image. and just the details. The more you stare at it, the more details pop at you, and the more creepy it gets. So it's just yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see where all the next storylines go, and everything just kind of unfolds in these next few issues. So I know I'm for one, I'm super excited about issue number 2 coming out.
So am
So we're getting close to the end of our hour here. Is there any advice that you can give to any new comic book creators? Anyone trying to maybe thinking about doing a crowdfunding campaign like you've done before?
Well, if you're in a situation like I am, where you're sort of funding things yourself, my advice to you would be to learn to love baloney. It's cheap, and not and you want the garlic kind, not the kind that tastes like garlic, but there's garlic flavor, but you want the kind that's so cheap it tastes like garlic.
Oh, that's funny.
Because you're gonna want to save your money. You can make it happen. It's very possible, and seeing something in your head actually come to life. It's a beautiful thing, and I think everyone should experience it once.
That's
and I want to
amazing, man.
experience it
That's really cool to hear
at least 3 more times.
that. 3 more times, if not more than that, right?
Yes.
But at least 3. We want to see the end of Ferryman. So,
yeah,
but I think go ahead.
I was gonna say, and also maybe Godhood if we can make that work. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that project when you're ready to share some of that. But I think it's good. I think it's a good sign that you've had success on these first 2 issues. I think, and you obviously put out a great book with some great perks, and people really responded to it. So if you keep up this good work, I think that goodwill will carry you forward to definitely to the end of the issue 5, if not beyond that. So I'm just excited to see where you go with that.
Well,
So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. That's really great, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk with us today about your book.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry it took so long to make it happen.
No worries, man. And it's any time, and I'm just glad we got to catch you while your book was still in demand, and hopefully we can get some new people checking out get some new eyes on there, and people start picking it up again and grab it since it's still in there again. How until when?
Probably about early October. Probably
Early October.
We'll probably pick it off.
So just a little bit longer. So at least a few more weeks. So definitely some time if you haven't picked it up to grab your copy. Now,
and we I want to tell people we are about $300 something away from our first stretch goal, which will be a trading card,
cool.
And then we have a stretch goal at 9,000, which will be the variant cover for issue 1.
Nice. And is that something you've teased at all yet? The variant cover?
Yeah. I've been posting that like crazy.
Really?
Because I really love that cover because it tonally it fits in with the second one because we have a different artist. And
so is it separate from this one that we're seeing that you teased earlier today?
No, that'll be the new one.
That is the variant.
The new one.
Oh, okay, nice,
yeah,
nice. So if you want to get that, if you want that one, we need to get you to the 9,000 stretch goal.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, then you heard it here, folks. We gotta help keep pushing it. It might be in demand, but it doesn't mean it's over yet. Let's keep it going.
Over. Still going.
That's right. Nice, man. Well, that's awesome to hear. Well, that's great, man. Please, everyone, check it out. I'm gonna put up the link again here. So if you haven't, go back it right now. It's in demand, and there's plenty of cool options. You could even pick up the first one if you missed that one too. And where can people follow you online if they want to check out some more of your adventures and follow everything you got going on?
For general internet shenanigans, talking about movies and stuff like that, and talking about Ferryman, the best place to find me is on Twitter at Sean Campbell. Just my name, right there, SeanCampbell.
We'll put that up on the screen there.
Cool.
Nice, man. Anywhere else you like to frequent on the internet, or is Twitter where you mostly stay at these days?
Twitter is where most of the comic stuff happens.
Nice.
We are looking into setting up I actually have a domain, but we haven't really put anything on there because we only have the one issue so far. But so there will be a domain with a nice little Ferryman stuff on it cool, at some point. But right now, Twitter is the best
place to be. Nice, man. Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. I wish you much luck with your future issues of the comic, and I hope maybe we can do this again sometime when you have another campaign coming out.
Oh,
that'd
absolutely.
be great, man. Awesome. Well, thanks to everyone who checked out the broadcast. Please, again, go check out his work and see if you like it. If you're a big fan of sci-fi or just any kind of action thriller, I think you're going to really dig this one. So check it out, guys, and we'll see you next time on the Indie Spotlight. Take care.
See ya.